Okay, now number 15, the last one. I chose number 15 because usually the later ones are harder. So again, I have divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down. Let's go. So this one's larger. So just because it's larger doesn't mean it's crazy, crazy hard. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the last one. So 28. I'm going to ask myself, does 28 go into 8? Of course not. 28 is much larger than 8. So I'm going to move over. Does 28 go into 84? Definitely. So there's a couple ways you could figure this out, And for me, honestly, what I do is sometimes I estimate and sometimes I'll guess, or I'll do both. I'm going to do both right now. So 28 is pretty close to 30. If I think in my head, that 28 is close to 30, I can multiply 30 in my head easily. So like 30 times 2 I know is 60. So if I think of this as 30, I know at least 2 of them could fit into 84. In my head again, I can do 30 times 3, which I know is 90. And that's larger than that. But remember, 30 is an estimate. So just to make sure, I'm going to multiply 28 times 3. We might get close. We might be over. We might be under. Who knows? 8 times 3 is 24. 6. And what do you know? We got it right on the dot. So this tells me that 28 goes into 84 3 times. So I'm going to make sure to write the 3 on top of the 4. And that was my divide. What are we going to multiply now? The 3 we just wrote times 28. And because of this, I already know 3 times 28 is equal to 84. And then my next step is subtract. I'm going to subtract 84 minus 84, and I'm going to get 0. Okay? Now, the next thing we have to do after subtracting is bring down. So you see this time it's a little different from number 1. We have a 1 and a 3 here. We're only going to bring down one number at a time. So I'm going to start with the 1. I like to draw an arrow here to show that it's dropping down, bringing down, and the 1 moves here. And then again, this is a cycle. I'm going back to divide. How many times does 28 go into 1? 28 is much larger than 1, so obviously it does not go in at all. So 28 goes into 1 0 times. Okay, again, 28 is much larger than 1, so it goes in 0 times. Then we're going to multiply. The 0 I just wrote times 28 is equal to 0. And you know by now, we're going to subtract. 1 minus 0 is 1. Okay, now I'm back to bring it down again. And you can see that there is one more number left that has not been brought down, which is the 3. So I'm going to bring it all the way down here. So now we're left with 13. Again, our cycle starts again. We're going to divide. How many times does 28 go into 13? Again, 28 is much larger than 13, so it doesn't go in any times. It's 0. It goes in 0 times. So again, I'm going to write a 0 up here. And then I'm going to multiply my next step. The 0 I just wrote times 28 is 0. I'm going to subtract. 13 minus 0 is 13. And bring down. Is there anything left to bring down? No. That tells me that I'm done. And this 13 left over has a special name. It's called a remainder. Okay? And the way you show the remainder in your answer is by putting an R for remainder and the number. So we get 300 remainder 13. And that is the answer. And real quick, if you want to check your answer, you're going to go 300. You're going to take your answer you got, 300. We're going to ignore the remainder right now, okay, but just for a little bit. And we're going to multiply it by the divisor, which is 28. Okay. And just to go through it real quick, 0, 0, 24, placeholder, 0, 0, 6, and I'm going to get 8,400. Okay? And you're probably wondering, wait a minute, that doesn't match with 8,413. What's going on here? Well, we're not done yet. We're going to take the remainder and add it to that answer you just got. And 8,400 plus 13 is equal to 8,413, which is the same as that number there. And because these two numbers match, I know my answer is correct.